Hello, everybody.
Hi.
My name is Kador, and this is Ian.
Yeah.
And we're doing our annual tradition at this point, I guess
This is a tradition now?
Yeah, we're counting down our favorite albums of 2019. But yeah, let's start with EPs. You want to go first?
Yeah.
We're doing 6 EPs each for no conceivable reason.
Yeah,
Very arbitrary.
So number 6 for me is Dreams Come True 2019 by Black Dresses, which is my favorite thing that the Black Dresses have done so far. I don't know, it's just, it's nice. It's nicer than the other stuff that I've heard, which is the other stuff from 2019, which was not as good in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like this too. I'm a big fan of Black Dresses.
He's a bigger fan than I am.
I think this is some of their more weaker material, but like it's still pretty great, so yeah, I don't really have much to say about it, but you know Black Dresses and you like them, and you probably like this.
Yeah, the last song is the best, I think. It's good.
So my number 6 EP is, I guess you'd pronounce it Sex Symbol by 4J. This is just sort of one of many of this kind of this underground scene I found on SoundCloud of like just really dark, twisted, like discombobulated SoundCloud rap, where it's almost like somewhat straightforward like trap to begin with, but then it just gets like looped and pitch shifted and sped up and sped down and just like completely messed up to the point where it's like super surreal and psychedelic and just crazy. And yeah, there's the whole gang of people doing this, but I think this is one of the best examples. So
I thought it was pronounced X symbol.
Yeah, they also replace letters with X's quite a bit. So
there are many X's. It's kind of it's pretty cool. I don't really like that much trap music, but like I enjoyed this one. It's like kind of like being in like a swimming pool, but like it's like nighttime and like you're like high on drugs that like I don't do.
Yeah,
and it's yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway,
yeah.
If you like this, then there's a lot of other artists doing similar things for you to check out. It's just kind of an interesting, very new sound on SoundCloud these days.
So my number 5 is You Were the Gasoline by Mortality Rate. And that title might be confusing, but if you look at the album cover, it makes sense because it's just like a gigantic, like burning like house or something. It's just really good metalcore. I don't think I actually liked metalcore before this year, but then I went on a huge like punk binge, and then now I like it. So hooray!
Yep, that's how it is.
Yeah, it's not really that like special or anything. It's just really well written, really solid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's pretty straightforward metalcore. If you like the genre, you like that. That's kind of how it be. My number 5 is Internet Angel by Pinky. This is kind of like, I feel like it's if you took the sort of the style of like the first Character Benito album, but made it more like pop rap, if that makes sense. It's just like a very cutesy kind of Japanese-ish like aesthetic with yeah, it's just like pop rap. And generally pop rap is kind of annoying to me. I feel like it was a lot of kind of obnoxious versions of that, but I don't know, the sort of cutesy and just like fun and playful nature of this EP really appeals to me, and these are just really fun, catchy songs that I very much enjoy.
Yeah, there's not a lot to it, but it's like it's nice. I like it too. I don't think I like it quite as much as you do, but I don't know. It's very, very calming, very summery kind of music. It's nice. Then my number 4 is Tanya Tagak Toothsayer. I don't really have like any reference at all for like describing the way this Toothsayer thing sounds. It's very much its own kind of thing. I mean, I guess if I listened to more traditional Alaskan music, maybe I would know. And I want to after hearing this. I mean, I still haven't, but like, it seems cool. It's just very, very strange. It's sort of like if swans were Alaskan and not like swans.
Yeah. It's not a very accurate descriptor, but whatever.
No, it's not at all. There's not really a good way to. I mean, it's just very strange. Like, there's some very interesting vocal techniques. Like, you have like this kind of like kind of stuff going on, and then there's all this other stuff, and you get these ambient bits, and there's also like these really like tribal drumming bits, and it's just, I don't know, it's cool. Yeah. You should listen to it.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. It's its own thing, so I'd recommend it if you're interested in trying something very new. My number 4 is Synthetic World by Zarya. This is, I guess the main genre you'd call it would be like bubblegum bass, that kind of like PC music style, but it's, instead of being like very happy and bright and kind of upbeat like a lot of that stuff is, it's actually very like cold and sort of apocalyptic sounding, which is a pretty interesting take on that style. Just very futuristic, really well produced. Somewhat like trance inflected with some of the synths. and it's Russian, so that makes it better as well. This really cool electronic pop sort of stuff that, and especially the last track, like when it goes into the like full on just like trance section, it's like really just beautiful. One of the best songs I've heard this year.
My number 3 is Lich Magic, their self-titled thing. I guess they're a new band. They just came out with this black metal thing this year. I also don't think I liked black metal last year, but I do this year, so that's cool, I guess. I don't know. It's really nice, very catchy. Kind of also not really like especially like from what I've heard, like not a very super innovative black metal album. It's just really solid and very riffy, very fast paced, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I like this one too. It's really solid black metal. I only really listened to it like once or twice, but yeah, I enjoyed it. My number 3 then is Soulburn by Dealer, which is kind of a new metalcore band. I guess they have some new metal elements to their sound too, but I feel like it's mostly metalcore.
Yeah.
It's just really heavy. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. Like, the production is just insane. It's just like super crushing. Yeah, just great for a shot of heavy aggression and such. The second to last track, which I'm forgetting the name of right now, is a bit more on the melodic and emotional side of things. That's a nice change of pace. But yeah, just really brutal, intense stuff. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's this weird kind of... It has like this weird kind of niche where it's like metalcore that's not like super fast and it's not like super slow either. It's just kind of like this mid-tempo kind of like really crushing kind of like the drums, like you can like feel them pounding into your skull. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if I've heard a metalcore album that's as like heavily produced as this one. Well, not heavily, but like the production is heavy.
Yeah.
Like just the bass, you can just feel it. It's like crazy. Number 2 for me is Systematic Home Run by the Dead Kiwis, which is mathcore but with like video game themes. I don't know, it's just this really fast and invigorating, and I guess you could say that about a lot of metalcore, but again, it's just very, very nice riffs, very good. Good stuff.
Yeah, I like this one too. I only heard it once, so I don't remember too much about it. I remember there being kind of weird like synthwave sections thrown in, but yeah, I mean in general I'm a big fan of mathcore, and this definitely scratched that itch. My number 2 is The Psychoses by Ebola. This is just a fantastic, basically just like a harsh noise EP. It's also very atmospheric though. It's like equal parts harsh and just like spacey and I don't know, droney kind of, but it's just really intense. It has a lot of just like dynamic kind of tension to it. Just excellently produced noise music if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that one's really good. It's not my favorite thing she did this year. It's actually my least favorite thing that she did this year, but like it's still like really good. Like I love it. Like it's just a testament to how great she is. Definitely, yeah, like if you like noise music or you like dark ambient or you like industrial stuff, like you're doing yourself a disservice by not listening to her. My number 1 is Constructing a Mental Breakdown by Not Your Friends. It's just super zany mathcore. I don't know, I really love it. It's the sort of zaniest that you don't really hear in punk stuff besides like no wave, and like there's a lot of that really craziness. It's just so off the walls. It's like really insane. Definitely doesn't overstay its welcome. These really fast paced songs that are so super angular that just like go crazy hard but also are super quirky. And it's just, I don't know. It really resonates with me, I guess.
Yeah, maybe I need to listen to it again to fully absorb it, but I didn't get as much out of this. It didn't even really feel like metalcore or mathcore to me. It
no,
it just felt like weird rock music that just kind of went in all different directions, and I don't know. To me, like nothing really stuck or like hit too hard, but it was interesting, I suppose. My number 1 is a bit of a guilty pleasure, admittedly. It is Cute Mob by 2007 MySpace Girl. This is another thing that I found in the depths of SoundCloud hell, and it's sort of like late 2000s like scene kid electropop, like really bad like crunkcore type stuff meets like modern day more melodic like SoundCloud rap, which if that sounds awful to you, then like
it is.
You know, probably avoid it. But for me, these songs are just ridiculously fun and catchy, and like I don't know, it's very addictive. It's like junk food, you know. It's probably not good for you, but you just keep going back, and yeah, I don't know, they're just always stuck in my head and just very, very satisfying listen. That's all I can say about it.
I don't like this album. I don't hate it, but like I guess I could understand liking it, but this guy, like, he just, like, fucking worships this album. I don't understand it.
It's so fun.
Like, it's, like, so bewildering to me. Like, it's just so, I don't know. At least it's not that long. It's, like, 12 minutes long or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I can't really defend this one, but I don't know. If you like stuff like 100 Gex, then I think there's a potential chance you'll like this. It's kind of similar. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this is the part where I'm just gonna be eating Subway.
He's gonna be eating Subway. Move back so you don't like, make a bunch of noise.
Okay.
You know, we were just gonna do a top 10 type thing, but I felt like I had too many albums that I wanted to talk about, so I'm gonna do 15, and then once we get into the top 10, you'll join me again. So I'm gonna go ahead talk about my 15th favorite album of 2019, which is Reflections by Hana Diamond. Hana Diamond is been a PC music artist for a while. If you're familiar with that label, you kind of know what to expect. This album it's like half a compilation because there's a lot of old stuff, but there's some new stuff too. It's just kind of like really melancholic, dreamy, just really good pop music, especially the first half. I think it kind of falls off a bit in the second half, but yeah, there's just some really gorgeous songs here with kind of that futuristic production from A.G. Cook that you might expect. And yeah, I'm just a really big fan of some of the songs on here, at least. And then my number 14 is Bin Reaper by Babytron. I actually listened to this for the first time pretty recently, but it definitely stuck with me. It's just a really fun rap album. It's kind of similar to TJ6X, if you're familiar with him, in the sense that it talks about a lot of like very modern day sort of criminal activity, like scamming people's credit cards and whatnot. And it also has a similar kind of like offbeat flow that he does. But I think that this album is just a lot more consistent than anything that TJ's done for me. The production is just like super hard hitting and catchy, and I don't know, his flows are just like relentless and high energy the whole time. The lyrics are really funny. It's just a really fun album, and it has these weird like 80s synths, like almost like disco type synths worked into like trap beats, which is really interesting. So yeah, I don't know, it's just a really fun album if you like hip hop, I guess. Number 13 is Music Designed to Give You Ideas in Case You Should Run Out of Ideas by The Sound That Ends Creation. This is just kind of like a math grind, I guess sasscore kind of album. Yeah, I don't know. It's just really crazy, chaotic, spastic, dissonant, math time signatures type of music. So if you like that kind of thing, I feel like you'll probably like this. It's pretty zany, pretty fun, just really chaotic and noisy. Number 12 is the album Relentless by Sutcliffe Juggend. I think that's how you pronounce that. So this is an interesting one. This is... I actually just finished listening to this over the past few days, which I had to take multiple days to listen to it because it's like a 4 CD, almost 4-hour album of power electronics, death industrial, that sort of thing. Sutcliffe are kind of a classic group in that style, and I listened to one of their albums from back in the 90s and thought it was pretty good, but this thing just kind of blew me away, and especially the first couple discs. I think it falls off a little bit in the second half, but like the first like half of this album is some of the best power electronics I've ever heard. I mean, there's some seriously terrifying, disturbing, insanely well produced and just impactful stuff here. It's like I don't know how to describe it really, other than it's just like power electronics and death industrial, but it hits really hard, and the lyrics are really good too, which you can actually understand, unlike a lot of those types of albums. So if you're into the genre, definitely try this out, even though it's very long. My number 11 then is the self-titled album by Nuvolescura, which is pretty much just a screamo album. If you like screamo, I imagine you'll like this. It kind of blends the two sides of the genre, the more kind of like melodic, chill, kind of post-rocky side of things with the more intense, weird time signature, kind of emo violent side of things very well. And yeah, it's just a super solid and satisfying example of that style. If you get an itching for screamo, then this should certainly satisfy it. All right, now you're gonna finish that. We're gonna move on to our top 10.
No.
All right, onto our actual list.
Oh yeah.
10 best albums. Let's go. You first.
So my number 10 is Yonda by Kim Yun Law. And Kim Yun Law is a dude that's not really that well known. He's just been kind of kicking around on Blue Martin for the past, I don't know, half decade or so. And he just makes this really amazing stuff that kind of transcends the idea of drum and bass, even though it's like still firmly rooted in drum and bass. Like you have all this liquid drum and bass inspired stuff, but then like There's all this crazy percussion and all these other really wonderful things. And he made this album this year called Yonda, which is pretty much, it's the same sort of stuff as like what he's been doing, but like, I mean, maybe not as good as that sort of stuff, but like it's still like really great. It's just you should listen to it if you like drum and bass or electronic dance music in general. Like, I don't like most drum and bass, but like I like that album.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of it didn't even really sound like drum and bass to me, but yeah, it's just kind of like pretty spacey, chilled out, electronic beat stuff that yeah, it's relaxing and good to listen to. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my number 10 is not relaxing. It is an album called Strange, Beautiful, and Fast by Takafumi Matsubara. So this album is really interesting. It's a grindcore album, but it's it's attributed to one guy, right? But it's not actually just like a solo grindcore project. What he did on this thing, this is the guitarist of Gridlink, which is probably my favorite grindcore band. And
I don't know that.
basically what he did for this album is he just enlisted like a bunch of different musicians from a huge wide range of different like hardcore and extreme metal and grindcore kind of bands that are generally pretty well received, just really good musicians, and he kind of like had a different configuration of them for each track on this album. So it almost reads kind of like a various artists compilation in that sense. The only common thread running through it would be Matsubari. Is that his name? Matsubara. Matsubara.
What's his name?
Anyway, yeah. So in a way, like it feels kind of disjointed in that sense, but I actually think that kind of adds to the album rather than detracting from it, because I feel like a problem that a lot of grindcore albums run into is they all kind of sound the same. It's just like the same production, vocal technique, and guitar tone throughout the whole thing. But with this, it really changes up since the actual like band members change up between each song.
There's even like this rapping part, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a weird like almost hip hop-ish song near the end. But other than that, it's mostly still firmly grindcore. But yeah, and also just like the performances on here, I feel like are just really raw and like unhinged. Like sometimes it just sounds like it's about to like fall apart, and it just gives me this kind of like anxious feeling that I think is really impressive. And then there are other parts that are almost like beautiful sounding in a way, just because of his guitar work. It's like very triumphant and uplifting at times.
Would you call them strange, beautiful, or fast?
Yeah, the album title definitely describes the music very well. So yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of grindcore, I think you should definitely check this out. I think it's a really interesting concept, and it should be kind of considered a classic in the genre, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I admire the scope of it and like the intent of it more than the actual end product, but you could do a lot worse, and it's definitely, well, I think the best grindcore, straight up grindcore album I've heard this year. Yeah, go listen to it. My number 9 is DJ Speedsick, Nothing Lasts. From like the intro, you kind of get the sense that this is going to be a cool project. It's talking about being like a Satanist, but like not really like a Satanist, like kind of like a Satanist for like the theatricality of it. And then like the rest of the album is just like industrial techno for like 50 minutes or something. It's like it's really repetitive, really pounding, very raw, very sort of basement show kind of vibe. I'm really into it. I don't know that I would have liked this a year ago, but like now I got really into industrial techno, and this one just really does it.
Yeah, it's I really like this album too. I've always been a fan of industrial techno and that sort of thing, and this is definitely a great example of it. It's really raw production, and yeah, it's just very satisfying to listen to, even if it gets a little bit repetitive
it's
after a
super
while.
repetitive, yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a really good album if you like kind of that more hard-edged strain of techno. My number 9 is Moth Avenue by New Sylveon. This is just sort of like more melodic side of like SoundCloud rap mixed with like bubblegum bass, PC music, just kind of futuristic, like deconstructed production. It's pretty similar to, I guess, a few other kind of things in that vein going on nowadays, but I just really like that type of production. It's just really fun and colorful and clean and crisp. And he actually put out another album this year called Loser Pop, which I didn't actually enjoy as much because I felt like his vocals were more at the forefront of that rather than the production. And I think his production's a lot better than his vocals. But yeah, this is just a really fun like post-hip-hop, pop electronic thing that is pretty forward-thinking and a lot of fun.
Oh, and it's Russian, so that makes it better.
Yeah!
I also didn't like this one as much as him, but I definitely like appreciate the sentiment behind it. It reminds me a lot of like Sophie as far as like futuristic production goes, but like it's also very much like its own thing. Like this guy's unmistakably developed his own sort of style, and it's cool. My number 8 is Le Mal by Fat Nat, which is one of not very many no wave albums released this year, and it is just so fucking unhinged. I just love it. Like it. I mean, like a lot of no wave, it owes a lot to James Chance and the Contortions, but it's very much like its own kind of thing. It's like super weird. Like you have these English bits in the beginning, and then this kind of crazy playing, lots of saxophones, because of course you have to have saxophones to have no wave, unless you're Swans. And then like the second half of the album is all even more unhinged, and then they start throwing in like what sounds like French, and the tracks get way stranger, and they're all like reworks of the previous track, but like they're even weirder, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just so crazy. It's like so high energy. It's just, I don't know, it just makes me want to like dance, but like I don't really know any dances that would go with it.
Yeah, no, it's a very strange album. I can't say I particularly enjoyed any of it, but it was definitely really interesting. Like it wasn't very satisfying to listen to for me, but it's also like totally its own thing and just very unique. So if you want to hear something just like really weird and different in the realm of rock music with some kind of electronic elements worked in, I guess give it a shot. But yeah, I don't know, it didn't really hit me too hard personally. But yeah, my number 8 is Misery Never Forgets by Wrist Meat Razor. This is, I guess, is it my metalcore album of the year? Yeah, I guess just like metal in general, album of the year. Yeah, this is like, I don't know, it's sort of along the lines of like scene core revival, I suppose, but I think it actually does that sort of thing a lot better than any of those kind of 2000s bands, personally. I don't know, it has a great blend of like dissonance and melody and heaviness and the lighter parts, and I don't know, I just think it's incredibly satisfying to listen to, and it's just one of those metal albums that I just kept returning to over and over again. And there's some kind of like screamo elements too, more emotive side of things. It's also really short, it's only like 20 minutes, so I don't know, if you're a fan of that kind of thing, I'd say check it out.
Yeah, it's good. The vocals take a bit of getting used to on this one, but like it's still good. I like it. My number 7 is I Also Want to Die in New Orleans by Kil Moon. I really like this album. It was not well received by pretty much any music critics, I don't think. This is like this is the third Kil Moon album I've heard. It's very different from both Benji and Tiny Seas, which are the ones I've heard. It's just very meandering and long and very like, it's kind of just one gigantic like hour and a half long tangent. So if listening to Mark Kozelek ramble for like an hour and a half is like your kind of thing, then like check this album out. It's like, I don't know, like the instrumentals are so jammy, the sort of songwriting just kind of meanders for a long time in places, and then you have all these very like matter-of-fact, sometimes philosophical, sometimes political lyrics. I don't know, it's kind of like reading like a James Joyce novel if it wasn't actually about anything.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this one. I love Kil Moon's early stuff. Like the album Goes to the Great Highway is, I actually just got it on the vinyl. It's like one of my favorite albums. And that one has actual songs on it.
Damn.
This is just like, I don't know, it's like listening to an old man just like ramble about random things in his past for an hour and a half, and
That's what's so good about it.
It's just annoying to me. I don't know. It's boring, and I don't like the instrumentals particularly either. I just think, yeah, I mean, it sounds like a jam session, but not particularly interesting or effective jam session in my opinion. I don't know. It's just not something I'd ever want to return to, and not a particularly amazing experience, in my opinion. My number 7 is Slater with her self-titled mixtape album thing. This is just like really good pop music. It's a lot of people have compared it to like Britney Spears, which I can see. It's kind of similar in a way, but it also has a much more updated production kind of sound to it, taking cues from like bubblegum bass and that sort of thing. Occasionally, and yeah, it's just, I don't know, the production is really, I think, what sells it for me. It's just super clean, crisp, just like hard hitting, just really catchy songs, and yeah, just some of the best pop music I have heard.
Yeah, it's a nice album. I don't love all of it. I think there are a few like really good tracks. Mostly the singles like are really good, and then there are some tracks that like I could just like would be totally fine like not being on the album. Like I don't know. I think it starts off really strong with the first few tracks, and then you get to like Daddy as Fuck, and then it's like I've been popping bottles, and it's like shut the fuck up.
love
Like,
that
I
song.
don't like that song. I also don't like Motorcycle or in a few others. I don't like E-Boy either. But like, there are good ones. Like Mine is a good song. Alone is a good song. Like, it's a very mixed bag for me. But I like it more than not overall. My number 6 is kind of the opposite of that. The opposite? I guess the opposite of that. It is Liturgy's Hack. We're gonna call it Hack. Okay. First Liturgy I've heard. It's cool. Yeah. I don't know. It's like. I guess the best comparison I have is like Death Heaven, but it doesn't really sound like Death Heaven, but like it's the same sort of idea as Death Heaven, even though it doesn't really sound like Death Heaven. Like they're taking like black metal tropes, and they're doing all this really futuristic kind of stuff with them. There's lots of glitchy stuff. There are these weird orchestral bits. There are lots of experimental interludes between the tracks, and like the black metal itself, like those parts just go really hard, and then I feel like this, like, the interludes and stuff are integrated a lot better here than they are on another experimental black metal album like Sunbather. Definitely, if you like Death Heaven, if you like black metal and are looking for like something that's not like necessarily like true cult black metal, but it's like, you know, still good, still interesting, forward thinking, then like check this one out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is I really like this too. It's definitely the best Liturgy album so far. It's kind of similar to Aesthetica, but just like better in every way, in my opinion. It just like hits a lot harder, a lot more interesting, and kind of dynamic songwriting. And yeah, it's cool, like the glitches and various production touches they throw in. Yeah, just like really cool, triumphant, epic kind of post black metal. My number 6 is Darker Matter by Coma Duster. So Coma Duster has, for a long time now, been one of my absolute favorite artists. Definitely, I mean, aside from like Tim Hecker, maybe my favorite electronic artist ever. I don't know, like his album Hollow Worlds has always been like probably among my top 5 albums ever, and it's just really, really futuristic, complex, dense, just really, really intricate electronic music. I don't know really what else to call it. It has elements of like drum and bass, IDM, kind of dubstep, and it's also like electro-industrial type stuff. And it's just really, yeah, as I said, really complex. Like, just the amount of different sounds just flying around at any given time is honestly insane, especially from the perspective of someone who makes electronic music. Like,
Yeah.
It's just really technically impressive. This is one guy that does it all himself. And on top of that, it's not just like sound design core and that's it. It's like there are actually really good, memorable songs on here because he has his voice, he sings, and yeah, it just sounds super like futuristic, post-apocalyptic kind of vibes. And I don't know, I mean, it's a pretty long album. It's like 80 minutes, and it's nothing too new for the most part. He does a couple weird experiments with like almost like folky stuff that don't entirely pan out, but everything else on here is just Coma Duster by the numbers, but also as good as always. So yeah, I just really love this album, and I really love the artist.
Yeah, I like this one too. I don't know, it's not really that different to me from like the other stuff he's been doing. Like, it's very much in the same sort of style. And I like the other stuff I wasn't quite sure about at the beginning, but like by the end of it, it won me over. It seems like it's kind of daunting, but like the minutes actually go by so fast, and like especially towards the end. Some of my favorite tracks are towards the end on this one. I don't know. He's kind of like Kil Moon in the sense that he's like an EDM artist that's like super unappreciated, that really should get more recognition, that's like really good at what they do, and they're really pushing the boundaries of their genres. Whatever genre he works in for this one, I mean, I don't know. It's very much hard to classify, yeah. My number 5, then, is Sonic Citadel by Lightning Bolt. And I'm actually kind of kicking myself because I hadn't listened to these guys, and they come to Philly and in like November or December or something, and I didn't go to their concert because of school, and I totally should have, because I've heard they're like so insane live, and you definitely get that from this album. Like, it's just like an hour of just ridiculous energy. It feels like it was all recorded, like it feels like it could have been like all recorded in one sitting. Like, honestly, like, I don't know, it's just he's going so hard on the drums, and the bass doesn't even sound like a bass half the time. It's just so processed, it's so wonky, it's just so crazy, it's all super playful. I love it. I don't know, it's just really energetic. I've been listening to it a lot lately. It really makes me want to listen to other Lightning Bolt because this, like, it's really cool.
Yeah, I thought this one was pretty good. I think it sort of gets a bit stale and repetitive after a while. Like I feel like its runtime could have been almost cut in half, or at least made a little bit shorter.
Ooh.
Maybe a little bit more dynamics thrown in, but generally speaking, the sound of it is pretty impressive, and not really anything I can compare to other bands doing that kind of thing nowadays. So, yeah, my number 5 then is the album Triad by Triad God. This is a very strange one. I don't really know how to describe it. It's kind of like bless you.
Thank you.
It's kind of like I want to say like outsider hip hop, because it's not really hip hop. But it sounds like it's trying to be hip hop and like completely failing, and it fails in such an interesting way. So ultimately, what it sounds like is just kind of these very minimal, sparse, kind of ambient at times, just like very kind of minimal pulsing electronics at other times, sort of instrumentals with him just like kind of rambling and mumbling in like Chinese, I guess, over top of it, and occasionally in English, occasionally singing, but it's not rapping. It's just like very weird arrhythmic spoken word. And on the surface that might sound like not much, but somehow this album just like it manages to be incredibly like unnerving and uncanny, and like it just gives me chills sometimes, is because it's just so, he's just like right up in your ear, and it's just so sparse, and like I don't know, just the vibe that I get from this album is totally unique. And yeah, I don't know how much of this is actually like intentional on his part, or if he's actually just trying to make like a spacey rap album, because that's not what it is. It's something very different, very unique, and yeah, just the feelings it evokes are just totally distinct from anything else I've heard. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't really like this one, but I respect the hell out of it. It's like so unnerving and enigmatic. It's like, where did this guy come from? Like, I don't know. It's just so, it's very, there's something very, very wrong about it. It's kind of like, this is a really shady comparison, but it's sort of like My Teenage Dream Ended by Farrah Abraham, in the sense that it's just like, you take this music that's like kind of on the surface, like it seems like it's supposed to be kind of pop based, but then like you do all this crazy stuff to it, and then it no longer really sounds like anything at all. Like, yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't like listening to it. It makes me very anxious. It's kind of like Swans, like their track Volcano. Number 4 is actually like a bootleg for me. It is Black Country New Roads Independent Venue Week 2019. I guess it was some performance in like England or somewhere. I don't know. This band is just like, I think they're really like a kind of a punk band for the time that we're in, which, I mean, all punk should be like that, but these guys really like nail like the sort of hyper realism that like you kind of want from punk but don't get a lot. Like even from the very first track on this album, where they're talking about like an algorithm guiding a person to watch like these specific YouTube videos, these music videos, and do these certain things and look at these girls in like bikinis. Like, it's just, I don't know, like it's just so, I just love the way that the lyrics are written on this. Of course, you have Sunglasses, which is hands down my favorite track of 2019. You have an even rawer and more unhinged version of that, very no wavy version of that. On this version, which is really awesome. The next 2 tracks aren't quite as good to me, but they're still really good. And then the last track, like, so it has this riff, like this bass riff to open it, that starts like, it sounds like the Swan Song screenshot, but then it actually like starts going like super hard, and it's like so cool. I don't know, like, these guys don't really have like that much material out yet, but like the fact that this bootleg with like its no-fi audio quality and its kind of long form songs spoke so much to me makes me really excited for whatever they're gonna do in 2020.
Yeah, I didn't really know how to feel about this one, just because it's such like not an album. Like, I don't. Did you watch the video or just hear the audio?
No, I just heard the audio.
Right, I watched the video on YouTube, so like it's really just like watching a live performance on YouTube, and like I don't know. To me, that's not really like an experience that's meant to be like listened to and judged in the same way that an album is. So I don't know. I have a hard time like saying a definitive opinion on it, but I can definitely say that I'm interested, and this band is doing very interesting things, and I definitely want to hear whatever they come out with when they start, releasing more actual like studio recorded material. My number 4 is 1000 Gex by 100 Gex. So this is like, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people know about this album. It got weirdly popular for what it is, but it's kind of like a bunch of sort of 2000s and maybe like early 2010s, just like pop music kind of like trend cliches, just like shoved together into one unholy amalgamation of an album. It's just really fun, really goofy. Yeah, the tracks just like go from, I don't know, just like super auto-tuned like electro pop to like trap kind of stuff to like dubstep like
to like R&B.
Yeah, just a bunch of weird genres mixed together haphazardly, but somehow the experiment pans out. The songs are super catchy and really fun, and it's just like, it makes me happy. I don't know, it's one of those like happy albums that I can just like put on and it just puts a smile on my face just because of how goofy and insane it is. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. It's really fun.
Yeah, I really like this album. I liked it more every time I listened to it, which kind of surprised me because it doesn't seem like the sort of thing that would grow on you, because like on the surface it can sound super annoying and unpolished and just like batshit insane, but then like, I don't know, like you start to really appreciate the way the songs, how catchy they are, how like futuristic but also like past thinking but also like forward thinking the production is. Like it's like very interesting to hear all these tropes from like the early 2000s in dance music getting repurposed and then used in all these sorts of crazy contexts, and like Stupid Horse is never not going to be an amazing song.
Yes.
Yeah, it didn't make my list, but like I love 1000 Gex. My number 3 is Braindrops by Tropical Fuckstorm, and I like this actually a lot more than the Tropical Fuckstorm's album last year, which was that also made my list last year, which was good. I ended up actually listening to The Drones this year, which is the band that Tropical Fuckstorm came from, and it's not really that different from their stuff, all things considered. Like, this is more in line with their older stuff than their last album was. Gareth Lydiard, the lead singer, sounds like Nick Cave, yet somehow even more Australian and even more drunk, which is amazing to me. I love like the sorts of art punk, no wavy kind of touches in this one also. It's just really a great album the whole way through. I don't really think there are any bad tracks on it. He's just a really gifted songwriter. I love the lyrics. I love the way that his vocal style often contrasts with like the higher vocals that you hear in songs like Who's My Eugene. But I love the crazy guitars, how angular they can be. I love the philosophy of the album. It's very depressed. It's very pessimistic, but at the same time, like, there are little glimmers of hope here and there, and it finds ways to make the kind of depressed sound into something very interesting and very calming at times, but also very crazy at other times.
Yeah, I think in general this album isn't really my type of thing. It's like not really my kind of genre in general. But there are definitely some really good songs on here. It's just kind of a mixed bag in my opinion, and I'm not really a big fan of Gareth Lydiard's vocals. He just sounds kind of like drunk half the time. I don't know. But yeah, there's some decent songs on here, and I can understand why other people like it more than I do. So my number 3 then, this is an interesting one. It's Nature, Denatured, and Found Again by Michael Passaro. And yeah, so this is basically a 5 CD box set of... It has a whole concept behind it, and I can barely even scratch the surface in this video because it's just so much. I actually got the physical version, so I got to look through kind of this booklet describing everything, and it's just so like... So basically the sound of it is... On the surface, it's like nature kind of field recordings of, you know, birds and forests and streams and whatnot. And then if they're processed in various ways, like there's some kind of classical instrumentation that's added into the mix sometimes, some electronics that are added in other times. It's just kind of like weirdly glitched and just cut up in other times. And it's all super abstract, just, yeah, really like strange. It's just very different. It's like sound art, I guess, if you want to call it that. But I just am fascinated by just the concept of this thing, which again is kind of hard to summarize, but it's basically like he and this group of like-minded artists kind of went out into this forest, I guess, or this area, and just made these recordings, and they had this very strict regimen of like, during this exact time we record this, and then during this time the next day we like play back those recordings while adding new things onto it, and like it's all just like this super complex like structure that they set up to create this thing. And so it's like, it's almost barely even like an album in the traditional sense. It's just this like, I think it's like over the course of 5 years they worked on this, so it's just like this 5-year like art experiment that I just think is fascinating and just totally conceptually different from anything I've ever heard. And I also just think the sound itself is just so easy to get lost in and just so fascinating. Really cool album. Not something I've returned to very much, but I have listened to it through a couple times. It just takes so long to listen to the whole thing.
My number 2 album is Death Rosenstock, as it says on the cover. It's Jeff Rosenstock. He put out this live album, which he recorded at the turn of the new year into 2019, called Thanks, Sorry. And it's kind of just some of the best songs from his solo output, plus some songs that I didn't think were his best songs that I've since grown to really like through this album. Especially the stuff on like his first solo album and like some of the other stuff, like some of the stuff on Post also. Like he starts with like a 6-minute rendition of this song off of Post, and it hits so hard. It's just amazing. I don't know. This year I kind of really got into Jeff Rosenstock, and now he's like probably my favorite solo musician like out there. Like, I don't know. He's just so amazing, and this is just such a great live album, just through and through. It makes me really wish I would have known about him when he was actually doing this, so I could have gone to, I think it was like New York, and actually seen him perform it, because it's just, I don't know, it's just like everything that makes him great just rolled into like this hour and 40 minutes long kind of thing. Definitely listen to it if you like any of power pop punk, or just regular like good old punk rock, because it has it all.
I haven't heard this particular live recording, but I've heard most of Jeff Rosenstock's stuff, so I've probably heard most of what's on here in some form or another.
Yeah, I think you have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love his work. It's pretty great. Maybe not quite as much as you, but like,
yeah.
It's definitely, yeah, he's some of the best kind of like pop punk, power pop, whatever you want to call that, type of stuff out there. I very much enjoy it. All right, my number 2 is the self-titled album by Lust for Youth. I honestly don't have that much to say about this. I feel like I'm the world's biggest Lust for Youth fan. It's basically just synth pop. It's kind of in the style of the sort of 80s bands like New Order and Depeche Mode and that sort of thing. But I think the production is a lot more modern and sleek and just very like smooth sounding. It's very satisfying to listen to. And I don't know, the songs are just very catchy because they kind of have this melancholic atmospheric sort of vibe to them. I saw them live recently, and that was really fun. I was just like singing along to all their stuff. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's nothing new. It's nothing too experimental, but it's just incredibly good synth pop, and I really have nothing bad to say about it, and I just return to it a lot.
Yeah, I don't really get it. I mean, I don't dislike it at all necessarily. It's just I don't really like synth pop that much, and to me, it doesn't really stand out from other synth pop that much. So I don't really, I don't know. Like, it's fine, but it doesn't. I don't share the same love for it. It's just little synth pop stuff. Yeah.
So, as a surprise turn of events, our number 1 album is actually the same thing, and that is Origin of My
fuck. Anyways, Origin of My Depression by Ebola.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's it's like sad, but like awesome sad. Yeah. It's, I don't know, it's, I've loved the dark ambient stuff for like ever. And she just comes and like makes this like crushing thing and ties in themes of like gender dysphoria and all this other gay shit and all this sadness, and then it's just like, I don't know, and there's all this futuristic production, and it's just all like, it's so like crushing and like awful, but like so beautiful and cathartic. It's like, honestly, I'm like so mad that fucking Lingua Ignota like snubbed her totally on like every critic's list, like because as like a death industrial album, because this just crushes her in every way. Like, honestly, like if you want like really amazing female fronted, impactful like death industrial, you should start here. Like, she's the best I've heard, honestly.
Yeah.
Death industrial.
This album is just crazy. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of things combined together, because it's not just like, standard old school like death industrial, if you know what that sounds like. There are also like sort of these dark ambient passages. There's sort of music concrete style, just sounds that kind of are collaged and cut up and just flying around. And there are almost just like singer-songwriter kind of parts, but they're very sort of abstract and kind of meandering, and they don't ever fully congeal into like a pop kind of structure or anything. They're still very, I don't know, just like flowing and just beautiful. I mean, yeah, and God, like the dynamics on this thing, like every single hit of just like harsh noise and she does use harsh noise on this album. Like, she's an excellent just like noise musician, even though this album is not just noise. Like, she really knows how to use just like really harsh blasts when need be, but she doesn't overdo it. I think there's one part on Please Don't Leave Me. There's this one little part at the very beginning of that song where the previous song kind of builds up into this noisy kind of finish, and then there's just this like one little kind of gasp that you hear from her, and then noise just crashes in again. And like that one part I feel like is honestly like one of the best things I've ever heard. Like, it just gives me chills, and it's just insane. Like, every little thing on this album is so well placed for just maximal impact and just devastating like power, but yeah, just like emotional fragility also. And I don't know, it's not an easy listen, like,
No.
musically speaking or like emotionally. I mean, I could see like someone who's, you know, been through, I guess, trauma and that sort of thing related to what she's talking about here might kind of have a hard time with this. And then, you know, people who are just not as into really experimental kind of extreme music like this also would probably have a hard time. But
It's fucking harrowing.
I think
Like,
everyone can at least appreciate, like, this is just a masterpiece. That's the only word for it.
the fact that she could turn grief into this is just really inspiring and amazing. And like,
Yeah.
of all the gay shit that came out this year that was good, and there was a lot of it, like, this is the best, like, easily.
Yeah, I want to second the Lingua Ignota thing too, because like in a way it's a similar album because it's, you know, combining sort of modern death industrial elements with like I guess more singing and kind of piano type stuff. But I don't know, like that album just feels so try hard and so like just over dramatic, but like not in like a genuine way to me, and just feels very watered down compared to this, which is just a much more raw and intricate and just well-made expression of a lot of the same things that Lingua Ignota is trying to express. So I don't know, if you're a fan of that album, definitely listen to this because I think it's way better in every way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was our list. We did it.
Yeah,
Heck
somehow.
yeah. 2020. Thank you for watching. Comment below what your favorite albums of 2019 were. Bye.